Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast, as always presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Yes, I am in a festive mood. We are going over to St. Augustine for Christmas Eve, and then we'll be back for Christmas Day. And it's a festive time, as we all know. And, it's just Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. It's just a good time of the year. I always love one of my favorite movies. Well, we'll talk about my favorite Christmas movie a little bit later. But one of my favorite Christmas movies is Scrooged with Bill Murray. I think it's hilarious. And, his speech there at the end, I think is something that people should take to heart. I hope everybody hears it. Do something for people, be that way every day. You don't have to be that way just one day a year. And it's a good point. I try to be nice every day. Tammy would say no. But anyway, happy holidays to everybody out there. We will not have a show on Monday. We need some time off. Everybody needs some time off. Tammy needs it. I need it. You need it. But we'll be back Friday, back on regular schedule with a show. And today we are going to do things a little differently. We're going to have Zach Abolverdi on to talk a little recruiting, and then Robbie Andreu to do a yes, no, way, or maybe. So that'll be different, and we appreciate you being on here. Let us get to our hand law starting lineup, and of course, the starting lineup, as always, is presented by Hand Law, Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about its website, about Hand Law, by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. Chris Hain and I had a lot of spirited conversations about recruiting and everything, but let's go to number one, which is signing day, the early signing day, which is the signing day pretty much these days. It's kind of a weird situation that we have to deal with it the way we do now, but you do. It's what it is. It's like everything. You have to deal with it. I talk about this all the time. You can evolve or get left behind. There's nothing in between. And so Florida, I think it was great that they kept everybody, because everybody was talking about people flipping and this, that. They didn't flip people at the end. They didn't get some guys at the end, but they did get a good class, really good class. In fact, I think it's the highest class since Urban Meyer if you go by average grade. But again, these are recruiting grades. These are people. I'm not saying – I never would say that the people who do recruiting don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, but some things don't work out. This guy could be really good. You watch him and you go, can't miss prospect. And then maybe he gets into college, he finds a girlfriend, she gives him a hard time, whatever, things happen to people. And some people, once they get the scholarship, they don't play as hard. Once they get into the NFL, they don't play as hard. They get out real quick. Once they get the big contract, I mean, it's a process. Once they get make the ninth grade team, maybe they quit playing hard, and the good ones do keep playing hard. So the big thing was the drama, I guess, was with Rashada. They didn't get his thing, and I guess there had to be some smooth talking going on there at the end, but to get him on board. But he did sign. So they kept everybody. They didn't get anything new. And then, of course, the big moves and the big winners of the day, you would say, are Miami and Oregon. Oregon kind of came out of nowhere on some of these guys. But look, we're talking about two of the groups that have the most money to spend on their NIL deals. It's not a coincidence there. That's what happens. Now, you look at A&M, and I don't even know where their class finished. I assume they were in the top 10. At some point, this is where we're going to have issues with the diminishing returns that you get. But look, Florida had a really good class. Was it the home run class I think a lot of people were hoping for? No, I would say no. But it's a really good class, and this is going to be the core of this football team for a long time, by the way. Let's get to number 2 on the Hand Law starting lineup, and that is the transfer portal. And Florida has made a little noise, but not much. Quarterback Graham Mertz from Wisconsin, and everybody's jumping on his back already. oh, why would they get this guy? I will be honest with you. Every time I watched him play, I went, that guy's not real good. But that doesn't mean that they can't make him good or that he's got the technique and he was in a bad situation up there. These things happen. Maybe they see a guy that can be that guy and he's just got to and maybe they can get a guy that will run the plays the right way. That's all they're trying to do. Everybody thought Grayson McCall was going to be it. I don't know what happened there. Everybody talked about other people. We talked about other people. It ends up being Fred Mertz's younger brother. But hey, look, let's see what he does with him. I guarantee you this: Jaden Rashad will be the most popular player on that football team next year because they're right from the start. The fan base is going to want him in there. Ease him in. Everybody needs to be eased in. Even Emmett had to get eased in. On a lot of Florida Gators that did transfer out landing places, Nebraska's got 3 guys that went there, and a lot of them ended up at Power 5 teams, which is interesting to me because it says, like TCU and Illinois, some other places like that, said, hey, I think these guys can play. I got to fix them and make them a little bit better. Or maybe they're at their level. TCU's at the highest level right now. They're in the playoffs. Who knows? But a lot of guys are finding spots that are former Gators. Over 1,300 in the portal, probably 650 will get Division I scholarships out of it. And of course, Georgia gets in the portal and gets 2 really good receivers. One at Mississippi State, who was 4th in the SEC in touchdown catches. One from Dominic Lovett, who I love from Missouri, really good player. They get those 2. They just get them. It's just pick and choose. Look, it's the gap's not closing at all. And it may be hard for the gap to ever close. I hope the 12-team playoff tightens the gap. But right now, the 14 playoff has done nothing but widen it. And that's the problem. It has made the gap huge now. And you look at Alabama, the number 1 class and maybe one of the greatest classes ever assembled. Last year, it was Texas A&M with the greatest class ever assembled. Don't worry about how good it is. We know Alabama had a great class. Gap just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Let's get to number 3 on the hand-loss starting lineup, and that is, we talk about, and Coach Napier talks all the time about changing the culture. And something I've noticed with a couple of schools, and look, it's up to the individuals and everything, but part of changing the culture is getting guys to want to stick around for the bowl game. And certainly when it's the Las Vegas Bowl, that's not going to be a big attraction for a lot of guys. Not everybody's a Vegas person. But if you couldn't get them to go to Vegas, where are you going to get them to go to? I know would be the argument. But my point, though, is that at Alabama, of course, Bryce Young and Will Anderson both said they're going to play in the bowl game. They don't have to play. These guys are going to be number 1 or first-round draft picks. And then I see where Jordan Wright at Kentucky, who I love that guy as a player, is also going to play in their bowl game before he turns pro. I think he's a super senior. So this is what Florida needs to get to, that point where guys say, hey, look, we're playing the bowl game. We care. That's how much we care about our school. And I think that all the guys that did not play in the bowl game, I know they had their reasons. I know especially in Ventrell Miller's case, he'd been dealing with a foot injury all year. I understand all that. Ventrell Miller, I give you a pass. You've been hurt, but if you haven't been hurt, I don't give you a pass. You should play with your teammates. You should finish your season with your teammates. It's up to you. It's all your personal choice, but that's how you'll be remembered at the University of Florida. Don't forget that. Number 4 on our hand-loss starting lineup. Florida has an Oklahoma problem. Clearly, we know what happened in the Cotton Bowl a couple of years ago. We know what's happened in softball, where Oklahoma has destroyed everybody. We know what's happened in baseball last year, where we saw Florida lose unbelievable regionals, a great regional. We know what happened in gymnastics, where Oklahoma won by 1/1,000,000 of a point. They got an Oklahoma problem, and then we saw it again for the second year in a row in basketball. Florida's basketball team is not very good. That's all you can say about it. I mean, 2 for 22 from 3 tells you all you need to know. And one of the 2 was a bank shot. I mean, a high banker. It was way up on the basket. This team can't shoot threes, and yet it insists on shooting them over and over again. But that's the thing. It's not just the basketball team. Football has they've got an Oklahoma problem. And guess what? They're coming to the league next year. Yikes! Not next year, following year, 2024. I think they will be. I don't think it's going to wait till 2025. They need to break one of those Oklahoma hexes a little bit here. I mean, don't forget, this is the team they also beat the program in 2008 to win a national championship in football, which most Gator fans would tell you is the only one that matters, and I may agree, not totally. I would like to see gymnastics win last year, but Oklahoma. They get in the way of a lot of things Gator-wise. Finally, on yes, nowhere. Oh, I didn't even mention this part of it. And they also beat the women the next night. So they beat the men on Tuesday, Oklahoma did, and then they beat the women and blew them out. I mean, one of those games where hey, let me go see how they're doing. I'll see how much of I'm going to watch this. I turned it over. It was 35-14. How about no? So that was the end of that. And finally, on the hand-loss starting lineup, I lost my place of thought there for just a minute. I want recruits to quit putting up these things on Twitter. What do you call when you put up like a display on Twitter? What is that called? It's just, it's not a meme. But anyway, a post, an image, yeah, whatever. I want them to quit putting them up there saying, I'm coming home. Okay? Because you're not coming home. You're going somewhere to a school. I don't care where it is, Florida, Miami, Georgia, Tennessee. You're going to school somewhere, and you hope it's going to work out. But after 6 months, you may go to another school. So don't say you're coming home. You're coming home, and then the next place you go, I'm coming home. I don't want to see that anymore. Stop doing it. You're not coming home. You don't I go home most days, almost every day. I'm not leaving. That's where I'm going to live, in that house. I'm going home. I don't really have a choice. I've got family and everything. You've got choices. You've got more choices than anybody's ever had in the history of football. So you're not coming home. You're starting your career somewhere. That's all it is. It's just a starting point. That's all it is. Don't say it anymore. I'm not allowing it. How about that? Okay. Do we have Zach yet? No. Okay. So I tell you what we'll do. We'll take a break. We'll go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back. We'll get Zach Abolverdi, of course, from Gators Online, and we'll talk to him about recruiting and all the stuff that went on. You were watching or listening to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brew To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Pat Dooley Storytime is brought to you by East Lake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little Gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of East Lake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about East Lake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms. Gator football is back, and the best way to get exclusive insight is a membership in the Gainesville Quarterback Club. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you the access to speakers like coaches, Gator greats, and more. Yeah, I even talk over there. It's pretty cool. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-person meetings or for non-locals via Zoom with an out-of-town membership. Right now, out-of-town memberships are only $150, and all new out-of-town signups get entered to win 2 Champions Club tickets to homecoming. That's pretty cool. Against Missouri, speaker presentations, home game tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or call me, Pat Dooley, 352-317-3444, and I'll get you in touch with the right people. Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
All right, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And right now we go to our Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line to talk to our friend Zach Abolverdi. We haven't talked to him in a while. He joins us, of course, from Gators Online and the Gators Online podcast. And he's also a professor, much like, I think, did you date Mary Ann or Ginger when you were the professor?
Neither. I don't think my wife would have been happy about that.
Well, you know, I mean, who would you have picked, though?
Marianne, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm a Ginger guy. All right, so let's talk about signing day. How do you like this early signing day now? Have you gotten so you're used to it, or is it still kind of pine for the days of that day in February when we'd all freak out?
Yeah, see, like fans, I think fans of not obviously Florida, but I think just schools in general that follow recruiting, they kind of like the signing day fireworks. I think coaches would probably prefer that they have most days like Billy Napier had on Wednesday, where everything's pretty much already signed, sealed, and delivered with the commits. There's no surprises. I know they had the flip Isaiah Nixon. It's come out that he didn't even get a letter of intent from Florida. So clearly, I think there was a parting of the ways there with him going back to UCF. So
there were no surprises for Florida, no shocks. They got everybody that was committed to them that they expected and sent letters out for. Now, obviously, you maybe would like to have added a few pieces here at the end, and maybe they will during the second signing period in February. But a lot of times back in the past, you would add maybe 6-7 guys on signing day, and there would be a lot of additions and a lot of news and a lot of excitement and a lot of new names, and that's just not the case for Florida on Wednesday, and I think not the case for a lot of schools, depending on where their class is at heading into the early signing period. So, but we can get into some of the numbers and figures, but I think for a bump class and Billy's first full recruiting cycle, I'm sure that he's pleased with where it's at.
Yeah, and at some point you do have to trust your coaches, and certainly they didn't hit as many big time players. They didn't get any 5 stars, and that's something that is. Although I know Rashada has been upgraded to a 5-star by some, and then I don't look. The bottom line is if they think they can play, that's all that really matters. And there was a little late drama with Jaden Rashada.
Yeah, there was. I always figured he was going to be the last guy that they announced because he's the quarterback, he's the headliner. We got there for the press conference, and his letter hadn't been certified yet, so they gave us a sheet that didn't have him on it, and they quickly took those back because they were not going to start Billy's press conference without Rashada being official. So we had to sit around and wait a little bit. I lobbied for pizza, and it didn't happen. But there was, when Billy came through that door, he had a big smile on his face, so you knew that Jaden's LOI was in. He actually, I think, was talking at the podium, and we got a sheet, an updated one that had Jaden on it. So first question I'm asking about the quarterback, he hadn't even been announced yet by Florida on their Twitter account. They hadn't sent out the video yet. So it really was, I think as soon as that thing was he got the green light, he headed to the podium. So, but I think if anything, it maybe created some suspense or whatever the case may be on signing day that I guess Florida didn't have because they didn't add anybody. But this is a significant get for the Gators. I know he was already flipped, but just seeing how crazy things have been with NIL, I guess you never count anybody as in until they're officially signed. So once he put pen to paper, that allowed, I think, the staff and Gator Nation to be at ease. And now you've got seemingly a quarterback for the future that at the very least is going to, compete for the starting job. And, he comes in after you lose your starting quarterback, you lose your backup quarterback, and, Jack Miller, doesn't do so hot in his debut as a Gator. So certainly he's going to have an opportunity to come in and compete. I don't think that he'll start as a true freshman in the opener at Utah, but I think that he's going to have a chance, especially if the other guys that come in, the Wisconsin transfer and Miller, don't get the job done. But between him and Lagway, you're kind of set for the future at that spot.
Yeah, I know there are going to be a lot of Monday radio shows where I'm going to be answering questions about why Rashada's not playing, because the fans are already down on Graham Mertz. They watch Jack Miller and go, he can't play because he couldn't play without half the team. He didn't have a right tackle or right guard. He had one in name only over there. But I mean, I don't know if he's any good. That's the thing. I don't know if Jack Miller's any good. I would never say just based off that one performance he's not good, but I don't know if he's any good.
I would say this. I know we're going to talk recruiting, but wouldn't you say that Graham's going to come in and have some type of a chance to at least start at the beginning of the season?
He will, yeah.
He's been a 3-year starter in the Big Ten. I know fans might not be extremely excited about the addition, but he is an experienced starter. You can't take that away from him. So going on the road at Utah for the first game of the season, is Jack Miller ready for that? I don't think Jaden Rashada will be ready for that.
No.
So that, then I'm sure Graham's looking at that as his opportunity, but there might be more than one guy that starts a game at quarterback for Florida next season. Hell, there could be 3.
Yeah. And they might actually do kind of the what we talked about, the Leak Tebow thing that we thought they were going to do with some other guys over the last few years, but it hadn't worked out really well. But you could see something like that happen where there's a package even for Rashada just to get his feet wet. But I was thinking about this. I mean, we're looking at the numbers in Florida. We'll go over the numbers and then I'll get it back down for fall, as we know. But it's going to be, when you look at last year's recruiting class and now this year's recruiting class, 22 players, it's going to be a lot of freshmen and sophomores on that roster, and redshirt freshmen too.
Yeah. It's going to be a young team. If there's any silver lining in going 6 and 7, it's easy for next year's team to maybe make an improvement in the win-loss. Although, we'll see kind of where they're at once all the chips settle and all the dust settles, and we see where the portal not only looks like for this window, but what it looks like in the spring. Who leaves the team after spring practice? Who does Florida potentially add in May? So there's still a lot to be determined, I think, from that standpoint. But if there is, you're trying to look for optimism for the future coming off a 6 and 7 season. There's some things that we can point out, but one of them for sure is that by and large, the best players on Florida's team this past season were Billy Napier additions. And I think that's definitely, I think that's definitely an encouraging sign for the future, just based on the evaluations of him and his staff, the guys they brought over from Louisiana, and certainly the freshmen that came in and made an impact, like Trevor Etienne, Devin Moore, Shamar James, McClellan. I mean, they have a lot of guys, Caleb Douglas. I mean, some dudes stepped up and showed a lot of promise, and that's one thing that we knew coming in, is that the staff was going to be able to recruit. So even though they're young, there's been some early signs. The early returns have been good. If they can get that again from this group, that's something that you can build on for the future, and certainly probably have a much better chance to compete, let's say in 24.
All right. Last question for you, Zach. We appreciate you joining us here to celebrate our special Christmas episode here. If you had to pick one guy that you think will have the most impact from this freshman class in 2023, who would it be?
Eugene Wilson. Trey Wilson. Eugene Wilson the third. So I guess that's where the Trey comes from. You mentioned, rankings and stuff. I mean, it depends on what site you look at, right? I mean, like,
right.
Jaden Rashada is a top 100 quarterback in the consensus rankings, but I think ESPN and 247 has him as a top 30 prospect. Well, Eugene Wilson, he's a top 30 prospect on 3. I think we have him 31st nationally. He probably has one of the most impressive tapes of any player in this class. And there's, listening to Billy yesterday, there's a few guys that stand out on film, but Wilson is one of them. And we know that Florida has not really had that dynamic slot receiver, that guy that can make you miss. And he is that without question. Now, Aiden Mizell is as well, but I think that, where he's at weight-wise, I think he'll play as a freshman as well. But I think Wilson's probably a little bit more college-ready coming in. And he is going to be a guy that you're going to see in the receiver rotation as a freshman. I think there's a reason why On3 had him ranked as high as we did as a network. And there's no doubt about it that Florida needs some more speed, some more guys that can, beat one-on-one man coverage, and he certainly fits that bill.
All right, my man. Well, have a great Christmas, and I know with your family, say hello to everybody, and have a good time, and we appreciate you taking time to come on.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas to you as well, Pat, and the fam. and everybody at Weeby Productions, and
especially Tammy.
Yeah, especially Tammy. And definitely looking forward to everybody getting a little break and spending some time with the family.
All right, my man. Thanks again. All right,
Absolutely,
that was
Pat.
Zach Abolverdi, of course, from Gators Online, who came to us to talk about recruiting. We are going to go ahead and do our Leonardo's of Millhopper quick picks. It's unbelievable. We changed when we're doing the show, and it's still Kelsey calling me in the middle of the show. How did she know to do that? Stop it. All right, real quickly, we'll do this because then we got to get Robbie on for Yes, No Way, or Maybe, and that'll be a lot of fun. We're going to do a It's a Wonderful Life theme. This is your last chance to get in the Leonardo's contest. Of course, tonight there's a game. A lot of you have picked. This is it, though, and then we're going to pull one next Friday. We're going to pull a winner. Packers at the Fins, -3.5 is the spread. The Dolphins are giving 3.5 points. Packers at Fins, and that'll be the last chance to qualify for the latest Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. We appreciate Kyle over there at Leonardo's for everything he does, all the great work he does. We will take a break. We'll come back with Robbie Andreu, and then we'll get to all of our other stuff. Adam's Ribco to go. We got this, that, and the other. We got a Pat Dooley story time. We got the games of the weekend. We got a Hesser and Kipke. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about when we return on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam's Ribco to go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Pat Dooley Storytime is brought to you by East Lake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little Gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of East Lake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about East Lake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms. Gator football is back, and the best way to get exclusive insight is a membership in the Gainesville Quarterback Club. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you the access to speakers like coaches, Gator greats, and more. Yeah, I even talk over there. It's pretty cool. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-person meetings or for non-locals via Zoom with an out-of-town membership. Right now, out-of-town memberships are only $150, and all new out-of-town signups get entered to win 2 Champions Club tickets to homecoming. That's pretty cool. Against Missouri, speaker presentations, home game tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or call me, Pat Dooley, 352-317-3444, and I'll get you in touch with the right people. Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gators Studios. And we will have Coach Spurrier back on next week. Again, no show Monday, so the next week after that, he'll be on. Right now, we are going back to our Big Mill Zoom line to talk to Robbie Andreu about everything we've been talking about lately. But I want to start out, Robbie, because I've got our yes, no, way, or maybe is going to be related to the movie that we watched last night, which we watch every Christmas a dozen times. It's a Wonderful Life. And Karen was saying how it's not just her favorite Christmas movie, it's her favorite movie of all time.
Do you want me to do a yes, no, way, or maybe?
No, I just want you. I want to ask you what you think. That's your favorite movie of all time?
It's one of my favorite movies too. It would be between that and The Best Years of Our Lives.
I was going to go both black and white, right?
Yeah.
I was
both made both are made 1946 too.
Oh, really?
The year you were born.
That's not true.
Just kidding.
I actually had this moment where I told myself as I was watching another movie, I think Elf may be the best Christmas movie ever. And then last night we watched It's a Wonderful Life, start to finish. You know, never got up, never even moved from the couch the whole time. And I go, nah, it's not even close. It's not even close. That movie's so much better.
Did you cry?
Oh yeah, a little bit. You know, what gets me is when he comes back and he runs into his house and they're all there and he's like, yeah, the sheriff's there, the reporters, great, you know. And then all of a sudden his kids upstairs go, Daddy, tears every time. I start crying.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's such a
You're
great
getting
movie.
to me now.
I know. I am actually welling up a little bit. But it's such a great movie, even though he is a misogynistic jerk. He's a misogynistic jerk in parts of that movie. He really is. You know, like well, that was
the time, the period.
Yeah, I know. I was listening to Conan O'Brien the other day, and he had Jim Gaffigan on. And Jim Gaffigan, I think he was saying that it was with him and Dana Carvey. Sometimes they sit around and they do all the voices from It's a Wonderful Life, except Jimmy Stewart. That's the only one they won't do. So it's like, 1 minute they'll go, you had me worried. This is the oldest tree in Pottersville. Or
Jimmy Stewart's voice is probably the easiest to do.
I know. Yeah. I try, Clarence. All right, so we're going to do a yes, no, way, or maybe Clarence with me, and it's only going to be about It's a Wonderful Life. And, of course, Robbie's appearances, as you know, are brought to you by the great Hesser and Kipke, and we appreciate them. We'll get to the Hesser and Kipke three things after this, but we appreciate Hesser and Kipke for being his sponsor. And, of course, the yes, no, way, or maybe is sponsored by Big Mills Cheesesteak. If you go to Big Mills Cheesesteak and say, hey, I listened to the Christmas version of another duly noted podcast, they'll go, well, have free fries with your order. That's how good it is to go in there. We appreciate Keith Miller over there at Yes, Nowhere, Maybe. All right, here we go, Robbie. The Clarence Goodbody, who you're very familiar with, right? The
yes.
guardian angel.
He has his wings now, Pat.
His job on Earth was a shoemaker. Yes, no way, or maybe.
Maybe. I can't recall, Pat. If I'd watched the movie last night, I would know, but no, I can't remember. That sounds kind of right.
No, he's a clockmaker.
That sounds right, though.
Clockmaker.
Oh, okay. You didn't use that as an option.
No, I didn't have a drink.
But he also just finished reading Mark Twain's newest book.
He did. Yeah. I wanted to see what that one is. All right.
None of us have seen it yet.
The entire movie was shot in Encino Ranch, California. Yes, no way, or maybe.
No way.
It's absolutely true. They built an entire set there because last night, when we were watching it and they're at Martini, they're putting him into his new house and they're walking back to the car. And I go, how are there mountains in New York? And she goes, well, how do you know it's New York? I go, well, the bank collector said he wanted to go back to his home in Elmira.
Yeah.
And she said, well, maybe it's Pennsylvania. I said, but there's no mountains there. So anyway, they built this huge set.
It's obviously New York.
Yeah, but it's supposed to
be.
They
did a great job with that. And the fake snow was great.
You know what they did to make that? They took this kind of like fiberglass type thing, or they didn't. In the old days, I was reading all about it last night. In the old days, they would take cornflakes and paint them white to do snow, but there was too loud, and Capra said it'll be too much noise. I'll have to turn up the volume. No, we're gonna come up with something, and he came up with that, invented it. How about that? I'm giving you all kinds of trivia here.
The snow looks real.
All right. Finally,
you've done your research, Dooley.
I did. True or false story? The guy who played Mr. Gower slapped the kid who played young George so hard he actually did make him bleed.
I'm going to say true.
It is true.
Maybe that was true.
It is true. Apparently
that was real authentic. That was authentic stuff.
Yeah, he was apparently really drunk too. He wasn't just drinking from that bottle. But I mean, I was going to say he played a great drunk. Well, that's why he was drunk.
He did. Yeah.
So
I never knew that, Pat. But he's a great drunk. I mean, he's got tears coming down his eyes. He's slurring his words real good.
That's another scene that kind of makes you well up a little bit when he hugs him. He realizes,
Yeah.
And his son had died.
He saved that kid from getting poisoned.
Yeah, but his son had just died, and they showed the Telegraph, and I go, I think the son died of COVID. That got Karen going on a whole nother rant.
He would have gone.
But he did die of the flu, of influenza. So there's your yes, nowhere, maybe. For this. All right, I got to ask you quick, Robbie, about signing day. What was signing day like for you? I mean, how nice was it not to worry about it?
It was great, and it was pretty uneventful for Florida. I mean, they pretty much signed everybody that had committed to them. And I think people maybe are a little disappointed they didn't close with a couple of the elite guys still out there. But, when Alabama and Georgia are on these guys, that's where they end up going, and that's what happened again this time. So I think Billy made progress in recruiting in his first real recruiting class. I think he takes it to the next level with the 2024 class, and he's already off to a good start on that one. He's already got his elite quarterback committed and two other really good players. So I think he's getting there.
Yeah, and by the way, this college football playoff is not closing any gap here, okay? You look at what Alabama and Georgia continue to do. And the other thing is the NIL is closing the gap more than the playoff is, because obviously in the cases of Oregon and Miami, I mean, and look, you can say, oh, they bought their whole team. Well, you're allowed to. So what difference does it make how they got them? If Florida fans either need to step up with their pocketbooks or quit complaining.
Yeah, you got to get in there and compete. And Pat, the one thing when you look back on this signing class, I think the bowl game hurt Florida because on the last weekend of recruiting visits, they were in Las Vegas. In Georgia, Alabama, FSU, Miami, they all had big on-campus visit weekends last weekend, while the Gators were no factor. And a lot of those guys ended up flipping or signing with those teams. So I think Florida not having that last weekend hurt them a little bit.
Well, and that's the thing, Robbie. You think about that loss to Vanderbilt, it might have hurt them in recruiting because of that they got stuck going to Vegas because they put Vegas down as their third option. And the first two didn't want them.
Yeah.
Because they were hoping that players would want to play in Vegas. But the bottom line is, I agree with you. I think it did probably hurt it a little bit. You couldn't be the last guy to have guys come in and visit. But hey, that's what happens when you go 6-6. But that Vandy loss takes them out of that other level of bowls.
Yeah. The thing I never understood about the Florida matchup, though, in that game, Pat, why did they put a 6-6 Florida team against the top 15 team in the country, a 9-3 team? That looked like a mismatch from the start. I don't know why was Oregon State in that bowl game? That's my whole point on that.
Well, that's the thing. Their tier is obviously a lot different than the SEC, and there are more SEC teams that get in. And so, but I mean, as soon as it was announced, I went, oh, Florida's not going to win that game. And then,
I was the same way.
And then Richardson, the only chance you have, as we found out again, opts out. Now you're like, they're going to get killed. And the funny thing is, the spread got up as high as I think 11.5, and then it went all the way down to 7.5 right before the game. But
man, I wish we'd bet on that game, Pat.
A lot of things I wish I'd bet on, Robbie, but I didn't. All right, we appreciate your time, man, and have a great Christmas. I'll see you tonight.
Me too, Pat.
Christmas party.
Yeah,
so that'll be a lot of fun.
To.
Yep.
Good job on your It's a Wonderful Life research, Pat. I'm very proud of you.
My favorite movie. All right, thanks, Robbie. And being brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, and it's time now to do our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and of course. We appreciate them being a double sponsor. Being a double sponsor, that's quite a Christmas present to us because we appreciate it. And we appreciate all of our sponsors. Every one of you out there that have helped make this happen. And it's fun. We're having a blast doing it. I think we finally got everything worked out. Tammy and I are in a good rhythm. We're ready to go and have a great next year. More great guests. More fun things, and we'll have a lot of fun. All right, let us get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And, of course, 3 things, as always, is brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, a law firm based in Hale Plantation, specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website at www.hklawfl.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. Want to wish a heartfelt Merry Christmas to Ken and Jennifer. Great people, been to their house, and we hope they have a great Christmas. All right. Well, they may be traveling. They travel a lot. So let's go to number one. I did want to make sure I mentioned this because it happened earlier in the week, but the death of Franco Harris was kind of hit me hard, even though I was never a Steelers fan. But he was just a legend of my childhood growing up. I was watching the game of the Immaculate Reception. And I remember when it happened, I go, well, wait a minute. In those days, the rule was that if an offensive player touched the ball, the next guy catching it could not be an offensive player. And the question was whether the Raiders, I think it was Tatum, defensive back, hit the ball or whether he did. So they had to look at it. There was actually replay review of that, as I recall. I think there was. But anyway, so you didn't even know when it happened. It was the freakiest thing I've ever seen. I was watching that game and I go, what? Hey, what? And I didn't and don't like the Raiders. I've always been anti-Raider. So I was happy, but I was never a big Steelers fan. But his death, obviously, that's not all he was known for. The guy won 4 Super Bowls, was the MVP of the Super Bowl. Unbelievable football player and a great dude from everything I've ever read. I've never got the chance to meet him, but I did want to mention his passing. I think he was only 71 years old. Number 2 on the Hesser and Kipke 3 things. What up with the Jaguars, man? What is going on there? All of a sudden, they're not only are they in the playoff hunt, I think they're going to make the playoffs looking at their schedule and looking at what they've got. They may win their division. In the world of where the Eagles are the only team that's up there at, what are they, 13-1, 14-1? It's incredible what the Jaguars have all of a sudden come out of nowhere. I think they've won 4 out of 5, and Trevor Lawrence looks like the guy, first pick in the draft, and their defense is playing great. They may be hard to knock out of these playoffs too, but give them credit. I have to admit, I've never been a Jaguar guy, but I've kind of rooted for this team a little bit. I have to go on the record and say that. Finally, number 3, baseball. This Carlos Correa thing. All right, Carlos Correa goes to the Giants, and I'm like, well, at least he stayed out of our division. And what happens? He goes out there and they go, we don't like what we're seeing on the x-rays or whatever it was. I don't know. Maybe it was a ulnar nerve or something. And so they don't want to sign him. And so he goes to the Mets. Thanks for nothing. And the Mets have loaded up with this super team. And, hey, the Yankees spend the most money every year, and they don't win it every year. In fact, they rarely win it. So we'll just have to battle it. But, that was just like, okay, we dodged Correa. Oh, no, you didn't. He's right back at it. So that is our 3 things presented, as always, by Hesser and Kipke. Let us do our Gainesville Quarterback Club games of the weekend. We'll give you a college game, a pro game, and, of course, a college basketball game. We'll do this every Monday and Friday on the show. We are looking for a new sponsor for this. If you want to get involved, or we can talk about it and even maybe change up the way we're doing it, whatever you want to do. The college football game, of course, we do have a game tonight. Missouri, Wake Forest. You guys got in the Leonardo's quick picks for that. They're still waiting to see what happens there. That's 6:30 on ESPN. So that's the college football game. On Saturday, we have 11 NFL games this year. So obviously, because Christmas falls on Sunday, they wanted to move it back. So Christmas Eve, you're going to have 11 NFL games. The game to watch is Philly at Dallas, 4:25 on Fox. Obviously, Jalen Hurts out for that game. You would think, but Gardner Minshew's a pretty good player, so we'll see what happens there. That'll be really interesting. Best basketball game, there aren't many because nobody's playing this weekend. But if you're really hardcore on on Christmas Day, DePaul at Creighton, 4:30 on Fox. That's the only game being played. And there it is. So Merry Christmas to all. And to DePaul, a good night. That is our games of the weekend, sponsored for this month only by the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Then we'll hopefully move on to a new sponsor. Again, just give me a call or send me an email. Let us get to our Adams Ribco to Go Gators of the weekend. And obviously, nobody did a whole lot this weekend. Mostly people lost. But the Gators of the weekend are going to be all the staff who don't get the recognition. I know Billy Napier gives them recognition when he starts out his signing day talk. And he refers to everybody. Nobody writes it down, believe me. And nobody, it's not going out to the public. So those people deserve credit because they're busting their butts and getting none of the glory. And I do. Everybody the people who fly the coaches around, the people who are sitting there breaking down tape, who are sending birthday greetings and everything to parents. I mean, I know what goes on with recruiting, and recruiting it's a sordid world, but I love the way Florida's recruiting. I think it's going to eventually pay off big time. But again, you're going to have to start winning more games or get more money from your boosters. That's the bottom line. I mean, you can get in their grills and tell them how great it is at Florida and how great the Hawkins Center is and how great the new facility is. You can show them the green. But the bottom line is, if you're not winning and you don't want to pay them, it's like Spurrier said. In his day, he was saying how you got to get them, you got to pay him to get them, and then pay him to keep them. In his day, he just coached them up. That's what he said. So I like that. That is our Adams Ribco to Go Gators of the weekend. And can't wait to see Adam again, to come over there and see Michelle and get some of that great barbecue. It's the best, man. I love it. Let us get to our Ballyhoo, Ironwood, and Darsh Shakow Insurance. This, that, and the other. Sponsored by Ballyhoo, by Ironwood. We're in the Ironwood shirt today. And by Darsh Shakow Insurance. This is, you find out about a guy you really didn't know anything about, but somebody gave him 4 stars. And they put it out there and they go, yeah, this guy's a big-time recruit. Oh, man, I hope we get him. I hope we get him. It's almost like, was it Chorus Line, that musical? I hope we get it. I hope I get it. I hope I get it. Okay, anyway, I hope we get him. That's kind of what it is. That is that, well, they crystal balled him to our school. They came out with a crystal ball. They looked at it and they went, here we go. You are going here. But the kid never had any intention of going there. And the other is he goes somewhere else, and now you hate that player. But always remember this. He could be on your team next year. As long as there's a transfer portal. Remember DeMarcus Bowman? Florida put much of its recruiting effort into getting him. Fell short. Goes to Clemson. Ends up transferring to Florida as a 5-star. Really doesn't play. Now he's at UCF. Didn't play for them this year. Just everybody always needs to calm down after signing day. The transfer portal is going to go on. Just calm down. Calm TF down. Okay. I think the only thing we have left is our favorite thing to do, Pat Dooley's story time. And it's brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. And we appreciate Eastlake Pediatrics, Mike Jordan, and the group who are gold sponsors of the Bob Dooley Invitational. And we appreciate that very much. All right. So here's the story. I thought about this the other day. I've got my hat on, you see. One time when Jennifer, my oldest daughter, she could have only been 1.5, maybe. I decided, well, she would have had to have been probably 1. She was born December 8th. So yeah, probably she would have been 1. And I decided, man, it'd be great if I did the whole thing, dressed up as Santa Claus and came in and said, ho, 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 little girl. All right, I said, I'm going to take it further. I'm going to get up on the roof. We had a roof that you could climb up on. In fact, we climbed up there once, and that's a whole nother Pat Dooley story time. So I get up there. This is when I was young. I was nimble. I had all my regular parts. There were no replacement parts in here. And I jump up, shimmy up the pole, get up on the roof, clank around up there. So all of a sudden, Jennifer's going to hear, what is that? And her mom is like, what is that? Who could that be? And then I come down the pole, burst in the door. Jennifer starts crying and wants to go away and doesn't want the man to come anywhere near her. I was dressed just like Santa Claus would. She hated it. She'd wanted no part of me. And I'm like, okay, nice to see everybody. And left. What are you going to do? Didn't want her crying. That was my one time dressing up like Santa Claus. That's it for Pat Dooley's story time. Appreciate our friends again. All of our sponsors, our great friends at Eastlake Pediatrics and all of them. I mean, we really you guys mean a lot to us that we have kept this going strong, and we're well over 200 episodes now, and Tammy is doing such a great job. We appreciate her. And Merry Christmas to all, to everybody out there. Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, let's try to get back together this year, where we're not always screaming and yelling at each other. There was a great Saturday Night Live skit, and the guy had a MAGA hat on. He's like, why do I have to take this off? They're screaming at each other. Let's just get away from all that stuff and remember why you celebrate Christmas, whatever reason you do, whatever reason you celebrate the holidays, whatever it is. I know family's involved. Have a Merry, Merry Christmas. We'll be back before the new year with a Friday show next week. Till then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back. And ho, 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 I am out of here.